A former official of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the people who investigated Iran's nuclear capabilities, he has said that the agency's findings were basically false. He was there. And he said within 6 to 8 months, Iran can and maybe will have a nuclear weapon. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. The gentleman's name is Olli Heinonen. He is an Israeli, and he is a nuclear scientist, and he was on the inspection team that went on the ground to look at Iran's nuclear capabilities. Now, I think that there's a lot of people in the international community, in government, that know that Iran did not show everything that they had. Some estimates are that there are as many as 200 sites in Iran, many of them buried deep beneath the ground, that would be impervious to a conventional attack. In other words, if we dropped 500 or 1,000 pound bombs from B-1 bombers or B-52 bombers, they would hit the ground and they would do nothing to damage the laboratories and the manufacturing facilities that are deep beneath the surface. It would literally take a nuclear strike in some of these areas to get deep enough into the earth to destroy the facilities where Iran is is creating the tools for them to obtain a nuclear bomb. Here's what this man says, quote, "Israelis need to be worried, and the Gulf states also have reason for concern. How will you be able to ensure your security if Iran obtains nuclear capabilities?" There's something else he said, which I disagree with, but I want to report it to you. He said that President Trump, by pulling out of the international deal that lifted some of the sanctions against Iran, President Trump unilaterally withdrew from President Obama's deal. He said that that President Trump's decision to leave actually serves the Ayatollahs. And he said, I quote, "The Ayatollahs can handle the new sanctions, and in the meantime, they're making new centrifuges. I disagree that it helps the Ayatollahs in this way. His point would be that Iran now gets to play the victim. They can start to do things that they weren't supposed to do. If the U.S. has broken its part of the deal, then we'll break our part of the deal. I never expected Iran to keep the deal. And even the deal that Obama put in place would have allowed the Iranians to create a nuclear weapon in 10 to 15 years from the time of its signing. So President Obama basically kicked it down the road, kicked the can down the road. The people in the news that I have followed, and I cannot confirm this, I've tried, but they said that President Obama's dad, the Muslim dad, was a Shiite, okay, not a Sunni. Iran is a Shiite Muslim nation. It is the only major power that is a Shiite Muslim nation in Muslim countries. The Shiites and the Sunnis hate each other. They have been in a protracted, almost 1,400-year-old civil war since the death of Mohammed, the founder of Islam. It's been a bloody, horrific battle over who's the rightful heir to become the next caliph, the next leader. Like, just think in form of the U.S. having a president and who's the successor, who's the legitimate successor, or a king in England, or a pope. There are successors. That's what a caliph means. Khalifa means successor. So the Shiites and the Sunnis have been in conflict over who can and should be a legitimate successor to Mohammed. If the Shiites in Iran get a nuclear weapon, it's not just a fear that they would use it against Israel or against America or against some European nation, but Muslim states that are Sunni states in the Middle East are afraid that Iran would use it against them, because Shiites have been, for the most part, on the losing end of the stick. They have been the ones getting trounced for nearly 1,400 years by Sunnis. So he feels that it serves the Ayatollahs, the leaders of Iran, for President Trump to have pulled out. I disagree, and the reason I disagree is this. I believe that President Trump is weighing using severe force against Iran. force to the point where it would bring about regime change. That's a highfalutin international relations word that means new government. When the Allies defeated Germany in World War I, they did not force regime change. Okay? There have been many wars in the history of the human race where once a treaty was reached, once peace was sued for, the government that was in power for the defeated country, all right, that government was allowed to remain in power. If President Trump launches an all-out war against Iran, he will insist, I promise you, his advisors will tell him, you must have regime change. You must have new leaders. You must have new government. Similar to what we did in Iraq. We were not going to let Saddam Hussein and his former officials be the new leaders of Iran. Same with Afghanistan. So I believe that by President Trump pulling out of the deal, he set the wheels in motion for us to act unilaterally. He set the wheels for us to act on our own. Without NATO, without France, without England, that we would do what was necessary for our security, primarily, and secondary for Israel's security, and then on a third level for some of our so-called allies like Egypt and Saudi Arabia in the Middle East, that for our sake, Israel's sake, and for a Sunni nation's sake, that we would act unilaterally to break the back once and for all of Iran's nuclear capabilities. Sometimes we see news like this, and because it's far away, we think it doesn't impact us. It reminds me of the failure of the Allied, the victorious powers after World War I. They stripped Germany of its ability to make war. The Versailles Treaty, which was very heavy-handed against the Germans, perhaps justly so. Historians debate that to this day. But they did not allow the Germans to have an air force. They did not allow the Germans to have more than 100,000 men in arms. They did not allow a general staff. When Hitler came to power, he systematically, slowly, steadily defied every single one of those elements of the Versailles Treaty. He built an air force. He built an army. He recreated the general staff. And then he tested it when the Germans took the Rhineland from the French. And what did the French do, who were obligated to keep it, to watch it, to control it? It did nothing. Nothing. And then it went apace from there. The English and the Germans were duty-bound to keep the Germans from rearming, and they didn't do it. They made every excuse in the book. And then ultimately, and by the way, the number one trading partner with England was Germany. Germany and England were the number one trading partners. So English businesses had a lot of vested interest in Germany rebuilding. And the number one export from England happened to be iron, scrap metal. And the Germans bought it and then used it to make their tanks, their missiles, etc. Airplanes. So when the Allies who were supposed to keep Germany from getting these weapons didn't do it, Germany ultimately used them. That's what I feel like is going on right now with Iran. They are building, those nuclear facilities are churning away. They are creating the atomic matter that they need to have a bomb. And friends, they're going to do it. They are going to do it. And then we will have ourselves to blame when they use it, because we could have stopped them, like the Allies could have stopped Germany. We could have stopped them, but we didn't. That was a very long introduction. I apologize. I've got to take a break, but I wanted you to understand why this affects you. Because when the French and the English allowed Germany to rearm, they were ensuring that hundreds of thousands of young French and English and then ultimately American men would die in war, a war that could have been avoided. And I think that that's where we're headed. If we don't stop Iran from getting this nuclear weapon, there will be hell to pay and lives lost on a scale that is unimaginable because of our failure. And it will affect us. Trust me, it will affect us. I'll be right back. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. This is an organization of physicians that value and cherish the Second Amendment. They have released a statement urging you and I to not discuss our firearms with our doctor. This is in reaction to the AMA and the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, who are questioning kids. When they've got kids there, they're asking the kids and the parents about guns in their home. The AMA released an incredible statement. They said, the AMA recognizes that uncontrolled ownership and use of firearms, especially handguns, is a serious threat to the public's health inasmuch as the weapons are one of the main causes for intentional and unintentional injuries and death. In another statement, quote, claiming only to be concerned about gun safety, the latest code term for gun control, the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, pushed its member doctors to advise families to get rid of their guns. One of the authors of the original AAP anti-gun policy, Dr. Catherine Christoffel, was quoted in an AMA journal saying, quote, guns are a virus that must be eradicated. Now, the reason that these doctors are telling you and I to not discuss our firearms with our doctors is because what do you think physicians do? Some of us have seen them do it. What do? They're talking to you, and what do they have in the office? A computer. And what are they doing? They're typing. And that data, those records, don't kid yourself. They are not secure. We've seen breaches again and again, and if the government wants to snoop, they're going to snoop. And if there is a data breach, then your personal details about your firearms are going to be in the hands of the wrong people. And this goes in connection with stuff that was floated during the Obama years, that there needs to be, or that there should be, extensive mental health background checks on people who have or want firearms. And people also have suggested that those of us who love our firearms, that want firearms, that there's something wrong with us intellectually, or rather mentally, psychologically, that there's something wrong with us for even wanting them. So take the advice of these doctors who are for responsible gun ownership. They love God, or they love American freedom rather. They love the Second Amendment, and they love you enough to tell you don't discuss this stuff with your physician. Because physicians at the local level are being pressured by these big organizations that they belong to. They're being pressured to start asking families questions about guns and saying that you should get rid of your guns, you must get rid of your guns. It's a health issue. Baloney. This is the biggest bait and switch I've heard of in gun control in a long time. I've got to take a break. When we come back, excommunication? What? Excommunication of a pro-baby killing Democrat? No way. Somebody with some backbone and some brains, a bishop, has acted. I'll tell you more when I come back.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. Its teachings are good and peaceful. And those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
We've been told that Muslim terrorists have hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. But Islamic art and literature tell a very different story. To know the truth, we only have to study the narrative of the founder of Islam, Mohammed, in his own words. This is so exciting to me as an evangelical Catholic, and it should be exciting to all evangelicals, Protestants, anyone from mainline denominations who supports the right to life and recognizes that Holy Communion is not to be trifled with. Roman Catholic bishops are obligated to excommunicate any lawmaker who participates in voting for laws that promote the murder of babies. Bishops are obligated to do it. It's their duty, okay? It's literally a part of their duty as a bishop. Most American bishops have been cowards. They have been treacherous. They refuse to enforce the laws and the teachings of the Catholic Church. So Bishop Paprocki in Springfield, Illinois, Thomas Paprocki, has issued a public excommunication of the participants in that demonic Illinois law that we discussed the other day briefly. This is the most barbaric law to be passed in the United States. So he excommunicated the leader of the House and the leader of the Senate. Here's what he said. In accord with Canon 915 of the Code of Canon Law, Illinois Senate President John Cullerton and Speaker of the House Michael Madigan, who facilitated the passage of the act concerning abortion of 2017, House Bill 40, as well as the Reproductive Health Act of 2019, Senate Bill 25, are not to be admitted to Holy Communion in the Diocese of Springfield in Illinois because they have obstinately persisted in promoting the abominable crime and very grave sin of abortion, as evidenced by the influence they exerted in their leadership roles and their repeated votes and obdurate, that means stiff-necked, obdurate public support for abortion rights over an extended period of time. These persons may be readmitted to Holy Communion only after they have truly repented these grave sins and furthermore have made suitable reparation for damages and scandal. That means public reparation means you're going to repair. They have made suitable reparation for damages and scandal, or at least have seriously promised to do so as determined in my judgment, or in the judgment of their diocesan bishop in consultation with me or my successor. He also said, I declare that Catholic legislators of the Illinois General Assembly who have cooperated in evil and committed grave sin by voting for any legislation that promotes abortion are not to present themselves to receive Holy Communion without first being reconciled to Christ and the Church in accord with Canon 916 of the Code of Canon Law. And now this is really interesting. All right, let's just stop there. The Catholic Church, for those of you who are Protestant, the Catholic Church has what are called canons. These are rules, all right? And these rules have been developed over literally hundreds and hundreds of years, and they give instruction as to how the church is to function, how it's to be managed, how it's to celebrate marriage, baptism, and how it's to deal with communion and those who are in public, scandalous sin, promoting evil or behaving in an evil manner that is clearly a contradiction of the law of God, vis-a-vis killing babies by abortion. Canon 915, Cardinal Ratzinger, before he was Pope Benedict XVI, Cardinal Ratzinger wrote to the American bishops and said to them that they were obligated to tell the pro-abortion politicians in their communities that they could not receive communion. They were obligated. Now, at that point, Ratzinger was a very high official in the Vatican, and I believe he was over the doctrine of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. Here's what the faith is. A brilliant theologian, became Pope, and he sent this letter to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. And Cardinal, what's his name? The guy who's been involved in all the scandal, McCarrick. Cardinal McCarrick kept the letter in his pocket. He literally hid the letter from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and did not tell them what Ratzinger said. McCarrick is the one who's the child molester and who has been stripped of his status as a clergyman. So that you can see the level of treachery that's going on. And you can also see that the teachings of the Church are clear. This is what you're supposed to do. So he did it. Bishop Paprocki did it. He excommunicated these people. This is a day that we should be rejoicing, jumping for joy. And I hope that it serves as either an inspiration or a rebuke to other bishops who are treacherous cowards. Treacherous cowards. I want to read to you something else he said, because this is really good. He said, in issuing this decree, I anticipate that some will point out the Church's own failings with regard to the abuse of children. The same justifiable anger we feel toward the abuse of innocent children, however, should prompt an outcry of resistance against legalizing the murder of innocent children. The failings of the Church do not change the objective reality that the murder of a defenseless baby is an utterly evil act. I love this. This is so awesome. And let me tell you, how much time do I have? I've got just to make a quick point. I've got to take a quick break. I'll be right back to finish this. Please don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Mohammed and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Mohammed and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. The deal with the devil with Catholic bishops was cut when they stood by and did nothing about abortion. Bishops have failed regarding priests who were sexually molesting children. But if they're going to sit by and do nothing while babies are being brutally murdered by the millions, is it a shock to us that they would sit by and do little or nothing when priests are molesting children? Do the math. All right, I've got to tell you, please go to my website. Help us if you can. I'm going to Iowa next week, God willing, to go after Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to be in Iowa. President Trump's going to be in Iowa. We're taking our big motor coach up there to just denounce Biden for support of child killing. And he's a treacherous Catholic. Please go to our website, make a contribution if you can help us. If you can join me in Iowa, do it. God bless you.